Blessed day, soul family. Welcome back, Martial Mystic 2026. We're in the middle of February, only the second month of the year, but we're up to about 20 videos now here as we record daily. And I'm really happy to be sharing this information to you. Today is Taiji Tuesday, and so we are talking about division, distraction, and flow. So we want to get an idea of Taiji Chuan, Taiji philosophy, but also how do we embody the principles? How's the material relevant to us today from this ancient, age-old wisdom that's been 6 to 8,000 years existing? Yesterday in Mental Health Monday, we gave a definition of the mind by Dr. Dan Siegel. And mind is important in Tai Chi Chuan. Mind is what's called the general within the body that dictates movements of the body. So Tai Chi Chuan, remember, is it's rooted in martial arts training, practice, and skill development, martial arts, self defense, and essentially survival. So, when it comes down to life and death, the skill and capability that's needed is vital, important, and that cultivation is an everyday process. It's necessary. But the goal for Tai Chi Chuan and a Tai Chi Chuan practitioner is to connect one's individual spirit back to the spirit of nature. In that idea, concept, goal lies the the fundamental existence of being separate or feeling separate from the grand ultimate source, the infinite potential, the great beyond, the eternal peace. So we're going to talk about this along with the 10,000 things. Two is one, one is two. Um, Mind and body connection, the flow state, and division and darkness, and overcoming feelings, thoughts, worries, anxieties. Today, here in Tai Chi Tuesday. So let's go back to just review what we looked at yesterday. If you want to have an extended look, go back to the Mental Health Monday. And let's review what the definition of mind is. And again, this is by Dr. Dan Siegel. Within the triangle of well being, you have relationships, brain, and mind. And here for us, the important thing is the definition of the mind. Remember, he said he interviewed so many professionals and psychologists, psychiatrists, philosophers, contemplative practitioners. What is mind? Did you ever get any training or did you ever get a lecture on the definition of mind? The mind, then he had to work together with other people to say and to come up with a definition, a working definition, not something uh, that that is utilized, used, or agreed upon. This is his for interpersonal neurobiology. The self organizational regulation of energy and information flow, as well as the consciousness and the subjective feeling of being alive. The self organizational regulation of energy and information flow, as well as the consciousness and the subjective feeling of being alive. Why is that important? the mind is, he says, it's embodied and it's relational. The mind is embodied and it's relational. If you've ever studied with my teacher, you've heard him say the that the mind can go to the past, the mind can go to the future, the mind can go anywhere within the body. So where is it? We can definitely say that the mind is not contained within the skull, just the skull, and the mind is more than brain activity. The mind, Dr. Dan Siegel says, that relationships are fundamental to human survival and well being, directly shaping the brain's physical structure through experience. His argument is that secure attachment, basically healthy relationships defined by the four S's, feeling seen, safe, soothed, and secure, promotes integration and mental health. Going a little bit back to the mental health idea, but what we want to do is utilize the Tai Chi movements to promote health and well-being. And so for many of us, we understand that the function of Tai Chi Chuan is for mind body relationship, harmony, and balance. Understanding that um, there's three dantians, right? The upper dantian, intellectual, spiritual center, the lower dantian, the physical center, where we, process food, and that energy is converted to and distributed throughout the body for physical health. And then we have the middle energy center. The middle energy center is the representation of mankind, of three main powers. And so we also want to look at the fact that, well, um, what is this? So if we were to look at the balance within ourselves, what would the yin yang symbol look like? Because the yin yang symbol, while we always see that it's uniform in this beautiful circle, that's not always the case. If the yang white is bigger, and that means that the black is smaller. If the black is smaller or bigger, then the white is smaller. And so sometimes the pursuit to balance, it can be it can be messy, and it could be not uniform. And I really like this image here. This gives an idea of two coming together and clashing. So we like to think of the yin yang symbol as a symbol of harmony, but I think it's also a symbol of clashing, and then the pursuit of harmony. But how do things harmonize? How does energy harmonize? How do things that are seemingly separate harmonize? So we talk about the 10,000 things in Taoist philosophy. What are the 10,000 things? The 10,000 things is a Taoist philosophical phrase. You can find more in the Tao Te Ching, chapter 42. It symbolizes the infinite, the countless and diverse manifestations of the physical world, representing all created things from nature to daily distractions. They originate from the Tao, that's the ultimate source, Wu Ji, and eventually return to it. And you can see in this image how here at the source you have a split from the source, and then you have one makes two, makes four, makes eight, until you have the 10,000 things. Similar to the human body, the human mind and the human body manifests 10,000 things throughout life. We can see external to ourselves, external to our human body, 10,000 things in the world that can pose a tension, distraction, or conflict, especially if we're interacting with all 10,000 things. So now we start to get an idea of the world, but also the connection and the interconnection of things. Why is this important when it comes to relationships and relational? Ultimately, the the notion or the single sacred act is this split from source where you get two separate things, two as coming from one thing. So are they separate if they have the same root? We need to kind of remember that. Are they separate if they have the same root? How much are they separate if they have the same root? And this is, I would say, quite relevant for today with the 10,000 things, being connected to anything and to everything in the world, feeling overwhelmed, feeling tense, anxious about the things in and of the world. And we have a desire to know. We have a need to know, not just, what's going on for us, what's going on for our loved ones, what's going on in our community, what's going on in and around the world. So we have this pursuit to know and this idea to know, but then we have the same energy that comes back that can be overwhelming. Everything that we want to know, if we want to know it, can be overwhelming. And so we want to live in the world and we want to let live, right? But we have to remember the importance of self-knowing. And we want to utilize distraction, division as a mirror to always come back to nature gong fu, self-knowing, and understand that Tai Chi Chuan, the goal of Tai Chi Chuan is harmonizing with the spirit of nature, going back to source. Body and mind, the body's going to die off, and mind and or not necessarily mind, but spirit eventually goes back to um, what we could assume might be, one soul family. So we talked about the definition of the mind from Dan Siegel, the embodied and relational emergent uh, aspect of consciousness within one's body. In Tai Chi Chuan, the mind is important. The mind is one of five regulations: the body, the breath, the mind, the chi, and the spirit. We, I like to call the mind and body and breath the Qigong triad: mind, regulating the mind, doing a Tai Chi movement, applying breath to it, and that's the second regulation. And then mind I like to think is the harmonizer of body and breath. Mind allows you to sync and to coordinate body and the breath. So if you're doing Tai Chi movement, you might or practice, you might have the feeling where you're trying to harmonize breath and movement, and it might feel a little messy. Sometimes they're harmonized, sometimes they're not harmonized, but you know what the vision is, you know where you want to go. Sometimes you feel harmonious, sometimes you have moments of harmony, sometimes there isn't. Knowing that if you continue practice, you are on the path of regulating without regulating, doing of not doing, wu wei. One thing that we want to talk about also is that Taiji Chuan is the search for efficiency and energy, or the efficiency of energy. That's our desire. That's the practice and the cultivation. And when we look at Taiji Chuan and the wisdom of Taiji Chuan, the wisdom of Tai Chi, we want to look at how nature moves and utilize nature's intelligence and nature's movement. So Tai Chi is nature's movement pattern. Remember that the Tai Chi pattern is not the yin yang symbol. The yin yang symbol is the yin yang symbol. Wu Ji is the source. Tai Chi is what is in between. Tai Chi is neither Wu Ji nor yin yang. It's what is in between all things that are birthing and dying. Tai Chi is the force which facilitates nothing into something, life, the life cycle. Likewise, the force which facilitates something to nothing, the death cycle. The Tai Chi symbol represents the energetic pattern along the space time and continuum, whereby one yields to, two becomes four, and then we get the 10,000 things. The spiral pattern emerges to be observable, ever present, and ever present throughout the natural world. And it was Fibonacci, an Italian mathematician, who's famous for exploring and noting this simple pattern in flowers, pine cones, water, shells, etc. So Tai Chi is the way that nature manifests its power, the template for creation that's utilized by nature. That's the Tai Chi template. And within this template exists nature's wisdom. And I theorize interfacing with her provides access to her intelligence. By learning to embody the pattern, when one can interface with this, they can access that wisdom in a deep and profound way. So, as from my teacher again, harmonizing the energy with the energy of the natural universe. That's the goal of a Tai Chi Chuan practitioner. So remember that Tai Chi facilitates the life cycle, and it also is the continuous movement that facilitates the death cycle as well. And Tai Chi is the continuous movement and pattern that gives us the 10,000 things. And in a way, Tai Chi connects all the 10,000 things to source, to Wu Ji. So if we start to think about the interconnectedness of all the 10,000 things, then relation and relationship now can be seen in a different light. Remember, Dr. Dan Siegel says that relationships are fundamental to human survival and well-being. The importance of healthy relationships is what he studies. Attachment and the mind's role in relationship. So then we get to the concept of uh, two as one and one is two, right? You've heard me probably talk about this. My Dr. Yang talks about this as well. So these two aspects, remember, these two energies seemingly in uniform and in harmony are essentially two energies. Our mind, our mental regulation, our body, our physical body are two, and at times we could feel like those aren't in harmony. So they don't function as one. Our left hand and right hand are two, but they can function as one. If they are unified with the body, then they can have a single goal and pursuit. The feet as well. When we look at movement, we talked about how when we're doing Tai Chi
Sit
movement, we
back.
have to, we're looking
Weight
for
shift, lift the right
coherence
heel, step out on the heel.
of all these parts. Dr. Dan Siegel says that health is founded upon the integration of differentiated parts. So if you look at the movements in the Taiji Trend calendar series, you see that I've broken down exercises and movements between upper body and lower body, or just one rotation of the body to the left and to the right. Breaking things down so you could think of the whole body as 10,000 things that are interconnected, but are they functioning as one? That's the idea, is wanting to do all of these movements as one single full-bodied coherent unit. And so that's the idea. So we break it down step by step. One left and right rotation. You can see that the lower body's fixed in Mabu. We have a left right rotation and adding the change of the hands. So again, the concept of 10,000 things being connected, being interrelated, functioning as one. So Dr. Dan Siegel gives us this concept of mui. Me, you makes mui. Me and us and you makes mui. And so what does that mean and how can it help us? This is the February um, week 3 video review. Every week we do a review of the different exercises and techniques. You can find that on the Taiji Chuan calendar series. So let's listen here to Dr. Dan Siegel, quick video talk about the concept of mui. I love when he breaks this down.
The lie that the self is a form of impaired integration. Because the reality is we are all, yes, differentiated as a me, but we're all linked as a we, only society and science don't tell us that. And so for me, what I tried to do in the brainstorm book and what I try to do now in my talks is say, well, how do you honor the differences? You do have a personal history, and that's a me, but you also have an interconnectedness, that's a we. So it isn't getting rid of a me, it's combining the two into one. So you can use the term we, M-W-E. And we is what I think our identity should be. I'm a me and a we at the same time. And if we can get we into schools and into families and into literally the way you live, people realize that helping others is helping the self. Helping the planet is helping the self. The self is not in your body. The self is a distributed, interconnected system, and the body is just one node. And the amazing thing is, all the studies of longevity and happiness, you know, they show that when you live a life realizing you're interconnected, you're going to be happier and healthier. It's a win-win-win thing, and there's just a lie that's being perpetrated by society and science that I feel the mindfulness movement is building inner resilience and interconnectivity, and that's the empowerment that we need to promote.
So it's a pretty bold claim that society and science have perpetrated a lie. Let's review our February quote and poetry. Do not be afraid of the initiation of a thought, but be afraid of the delaying of its perception. Be afraid of the awareness of the thought that's coming up, right? So we're talking about division and we're talking about um, my fault there, dropped the microphone. Wanted to uh, reference. So, yes, division, distraction, and flow. What if we discover too late that there is a me, you, and we, and there is a connection, and we don't act in a way that's in accordance with that? So I'll leave you with that question, and perhaps we'll Wellness Wednesday continue studying this thought, these concepts, interconnection, mind, we, and see if it's connected even more to wellness, along with ancient practices and philosophy. So, Taiji Tuesday, division, distraction, and flow, seeking harmony, seeking coherence, the 10,000 things, and understanding that all those 10,000 things can be traced back to one single root. Tell me what you think. If you want to see more, go to yinyangtaichi.org, and you could find more. Actually, you can get this book on what is Yin Yang Tai Chi at yinyangtaichi.org. And you can find more information on transcending that divide. So, thanks for joining, and we'll be back tomorrow with Wellness Wednesday. Embrace the woo, and may your chi flow smoothly.